Jeff Farr here, another segment of Market Vitals, and for me, I'm still thinking it's Friday. I still can't find this day.
Well, for you, it's Saturday, Bob. For you, it's Saturday.
I'm telling you. I mean, I fully thought yesterday was Thursday, and so in my mind, it's still Friday. I got Carolina on my mind, Matt.
I was just going to say, in your mind, are you going to Carolina?
Well, you got the hat on, so in my mind, I am going to Carolina. Won't you like the sunshine or something like that? Don't you really like the?
'Cause I'm going to Carolina in my mind. That's the end. That's the end.
That's the last part of it. Listen, this is Market Vitals, and if you're listening on a podcast, you can't see that North Carolina hat that Matt is he's sporting it today. Nor can you see the charts that we share, but we will try to do a better job of full enunciation of our market levels while trading. And at some point, please leave the podcast, get onto some technology device, and visit us at marketvitals.io. Join this growing network. 3 new members to welcome here, Matt. Marketvitals.io, not .com, not .org, not .eu, RUCA info. It's .io. Get it through your head. Marketvitals.io. It's markets we talk, Matt, before we talk markets, I got to tell you, I'm pretty good at that.
You are good at it.
I think I could, where I get it from? I got to tell you, I get it from a long line of great advertising in Chicagoland. For instance, Burt Wyman, your TV Ford man, 3131 North on Ashland Avenue. Love Burt Wyman. Man, could he sell a car? This 1972 Eldorado, full factory air. I mean, I think they used to say seatbelts. This one actually has seatbelts.
And so on the 3 channels that you had growing up, you saw that commercial how many times?
A billion times. Burt Wyman, your TV Ford man.
See, it just shows you the power of repetitive noise, right?
Exactly. Marketvitals.io, IO. It's markets we talk, Anyway, if you're listening on the podcast, you got to come over to marketvitals.io. And Matt, let me just do a solid here and welcome the newest members. We got Keith, North Carolina, Chris, and Ken and Roger and Daniel. I think I already invited. Daniel is from Thailand, one of our furthest flung new members. Anyway, Matt, let's go to the headlines.
Hey, Bob, what does it cost to join marketvitals.io?
It's free, Matt. It's free. For God's sake, free. Yeah. Mr. Winky even knows that. And this is new coming from down under. A bizarre sea penis worm gets a rise out of social media. No pun intended. What I find interesting is when you read the article that this is like the Groundhog Day in Australia, right? And so the penis can see a shadow, meaning winter is going to be put off for several weeks or months, or I'm not sure, but he for sure can see his shadow. Congratulations to Australia.
I can see a shadow. I can see a shadow in both pictures.
Right? Yeah, it's their Groundhog Day.
So when we say let's go to the tape, not only can we measure that, but we can see the shadow and the measurement of the girth. Everything is there.
Oh, you gotta love the internet.
Hey, but Bob, you know what? If for all of you women out there who can't find the right guy on land, my point is there are plenty of fish in the sea.
Oh, the mermaids are happy in Australia. Anyway, let's move on, Matt, to a pressing issue here for you this afternoon.
Again, these next 5 games, Bob, scare the shit out of me.
I mean, what a jumble up we could have.
Again, another great game.
Lose the next 5. They could be 16-6 going into the Big Ten tournament.
They could be. I mean, they're 16-1. They got Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, and back-to-back little bro.
Yeah.
So I don't envy that. Yeah, I would not put that schedule on anybody. That back-ended schedule is brutal, but I don't mind losing a few games coming into the tournament against tough competition. That's the good thing. It's like, and honestly, I don't know if the Big Ten is hosting their tournament after the regular play. I don't know. I don't know if that's happening. I don't know if they're all coming into Indy or Chicago like they usually do. They usually play one of those two places.
Right, exactly. I haven't
I don't
seen
know.
that news there. Or are they just going to end the year and see what the NCAA selection committee does?
Right. I honestly don't know what the conferences are doing this year.
That's why we need we need Dave Ross on here.
Yeah.
Dave, come on, help us out. Come on and explain. All right, Matt, let's talk a little price discovery. Firstly, unbelievable. Overnight, GameStop 5X turd floating. Unreal, from $44 to $200.
But let me just say this again, Bob. This is typical behavior for something that had all this kind of craziness going on for a while. And the last I think the last week we basically were stuck right at around $40. I was expecting a squeeze for sure. When I came home yesterday, you and I again had some great Detroit style pizza late lunch. Let's call it dinner, because I did not eat after that. There was so much food. It was great. Thank you, by the way. But I think this is typical of stocks that are in play like this. They usually get another wicked bounce, and I'm going to go to the charts here just so you can see this, Bob. But here's where we were. For whatever reason, coordinated attack started at 2:30 yesterday. Just peaked up here a little bit. We're looking at a 5-minute chart. So, it was trading at 50, which was already up $10. And then by the time we closed, Bob, we were already at 90. So we doubled pretty much. And then they decided to, after hours to, again, get the margin clerks busy again. And they took it all the way up to 200. So we got a 5X again, a 5Xer for the Reddit bros. If you were holding on, I sure hope, you exited some 150 to 200. So at least you made some of your money back when you bought those shares at 513, because it's not going back there.
Yeah, unbelievable. I cannot believe. Well, and for me, when I just look at this, because I'm not an expert at this. Does this mean to you that more people piled in shorts here, thinking it was going to zero, and they're able to squeeze those?
Yeah.
Added.
Yeah. Again, this is such a dangerous. Like, if I was running a fund, this would be on my. You can't be in this trade for more than a couple days, because especially after the washout that it had. Again, traders know this. Like, they know they're going to play games again. And I've never been, an activist type shorter that's looking for, names to go to zero, whether it's Krispy Kreme or whether it's GameStop, right? They're both, overinflated at some point, but they've generally, worked out okay. But this thing, just look at this after hours action, Bob. Again, this is a great chart to look at, because you had this run up, test, fail to go to high, and then that's the end of the day. Okay, so we kind of close at 170. They take it down when they start trading this thing at 4 a.m. here on the West Coast, 7 a.m. They kind of open the pre-market, which is, again, 2.5 hours before the market. By the time the market opens, it's testing that secondary high from overnight. Great sell area if you can get a borrow, and whoosh, just like that, off the get-go, you're opening 15, 20 minutes, and you're down $80. And then they did the half back perfectly, right back to 150, which is half from 100 to 200 that we hit, and whoosh again. So, that from a trading perspective, like, if you're day trading, this is what you want. This is $20. You got $60. You got another bounce, and then you get another 20 just by selling the 50 retrace. You're done for the day. Call it. You just made $80 day trading Reddit bros mistakes again. And I kind of
the amazing thing to me too that people just don't understand is how much of that squeeze happens overnight. I still, when this was headline news, there were still I did not see one person, and I reached out to several people supposedly in the know. Let's talk about the overnight price discovery that's going on. And you know what? I'm very familiar with this from the commodities side. Because as we went electronic and they finally stopped the overnight trading hours in hogs and cattle because it was just manipulation. It was pure 100% manipulation on thin markets and able to squeeze positions.
Well, here's the thing, Bob. Unless you were long, again, so anybody that was buying, GameStop over the last week, as I talked about, it was dead, right? It was dead to the moon, just hanging here at the point of control, right around $44. I mean, you can see this. How far do I need to go back? I mean, it was dead for 2 weeks, basically. That's a long time. So something's going to happen where it's going to do this again. But you can only fool these idiots so many times, right? And I'm going to call right what they are. They're idiots. Because unless you were long, and it's as simple as this, Bob, unless you were long and or you can trade after hours, which again, most retail can't unless they've got special approval. So most of this is pro action going on. Yeah, they grind it up there. And it runs out of steam again. They ran out whoever, the one big short squeeze they needed to take out again. They took him out. It loses another few billion possibly, and maybe that happened. I don't know. But the point is, if you're a retail performer, you had 40 to 90, most people, and then today, like after all the news hits and all the they're all pumping the boards. No matter where you've bought, unless you bought the absolute bottom in the first 20 minutes, everybody's pretty much underwater again today. So I point this out only to say nobody on the long side today only is making money. The shorts are winning again today. All you got to do is.
So if you bought the pump off of the open, you're underwater.
Well, because the pump on the open, Bob, is right here at 170.
Exactly. No, I get it. You bought the open, had that execute on open order in. It's going back to $500. Sorry, you're a loser again.
You're a loser again. Cash out again at the bottom, and then they take it up, and then you buy it again here at 150 after I sell it to you, and now you're sitting here in balance for the day, going, "I'm done." Like those were the easy trades if you're a day trader. Now you're done for the day, so just leave it alone. Who cares?
Yeah, Matt. Let's talk a few other stocks that we've been covering recently.
Bob, let's jump real quick if we can, just to the S&Ps to start, because I was showing you this chart and how the move that we had yesterday, the reactive move, the last day and a half on the SPOOs, got us. And I'm going to go to I'm going to just want to look at 1 month chart here of the SPOOs, a little bit more than a month. We were talking about this before we came on. It takes a while for markets to kind of roll over, if you will, right? And this
and both ways, vicious moves in the opposite direction of trend.
So we had this powerful move from the end of January 31st, as we were well aware, 36.50 or so, all the way down to, we went all the way up to the 39.60. So we had a 10% move there, Bob, in 2 weeks time, just relentless. And then we kind of had that little, pause for 3 or 4 days, and then we broke late last week, but then we, early this week, but we've recovered again. But guess where we went to is the top of the value. This P-shaped, and it's a reverse P, it's a mirrored P, if you will, is always if you read the market profile books, this is a heavy profile. As long as it stays, below the top of this, which it nailed 39.34, and we were talking about it in marketvitals.io yesterday. Great area to sell, 39.10 to 39.35. I mean, it's exactly what we said in the morning. Leg in, if you're a legger in, that's the area you want to start, because the 39.10 was kind of the point of control, and you can see that. And that's kind of like, where we're bouncing around. So this thing is very heavy. Again, if we close inside of this profile, if you will, tomorrow, you've got a week, month, and closing. This is not a good sign for coming into the Ides of March. The Ides of March.
For sure. And on the standard deviation basis, the same type of thing is an evolving story going on, for sure. You know what? And let me just bring that up right now. Let me just share, my thought on that. Because as I said yesterday, Matt, for me, I need some participation rights, Matt. In fact, I'm going to start a union here at marketvitals.io and demand some rights for participation.
Oh, I did not get you again?
You sure didn't, Matt. You sure didn't. I'm feeling left out again. Technology.
Paused.
And I'm so distraught over it, as you see behind me. you know, we're going to get to the pot stocks and to the medicinal mushroom. Now they're going to have. I'm talking about the glory days of being a pothead, right? They're coming. They're ahead of us.
Yeah.
New Jersey just fully legalized, right? Stopped all prosecutions of cases. I believe are expunging records like they finally did in Illinois, and also nonviolent. I think they're emptying the prisons of offenders in New Jersey. New York will be next for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. But the mushroom cookies coming down the pipeline. I got to tell you, I mean, not only do I think it should be legal, I think it should be mandatory. Like everybody's got to do a mushroom trip once a year. That's just my opinion. Lock them down, lock them up, chain them up. Listen, dude, you're out of control. You need to do a mushroom trip.
Well, again, if you follow Tim Ferriss, which everybody seems to listen to him now and again, he's a, obviously prolific podcaster, but this has been his subject for really the last couple of years. He's really gone all in on investing and discussing and talking about, the kind of the microdosing world that's coming ahead. And there's not a lot of public stocks in this space. But the one that we've talked about in the past, we should bring it up because we haven't.
Yeah, hold on 1 second though. Let me jump in here to the SPOOs.
Yep.
Again, 38.55. I said it yesterday on the weekly. That's the momentum level. Let's just jump to it and look at it again. 38.58, 55. It's jumping around with the market activity, and it takes a while for this to happen. And not only for me, the nuance here in standard deviation trading is not only Klaus, who's Klaus? Is he here? Klausing out of up momentum, but then, some sideways action, some lower price discovery, because you got to get those bands to roll over, right? And then once those bands roll over, it's a different dynamic, right? It's a different dynamic. There's more potential to the downside. As long as you got upward sloping bands, the reactions are violent in the direction of trend. And that's what I'm talking about. For me, my definition of direction of trend is what are the slope of those lines in the standard deviation modeling. Very important nuance. And let's jump. I forget what it is. Is it?
Oh yeah, CMPS.
CMPS. There it is.
Which is Compass Pathways, and their sole goal right now is to, basically pharmaceuticalize, mushrooms.
Right on. So there's the weekly. Not a great candle this week in this thing for sure. And I have your take on it. I really think I'd want to be patient on investing here. The way this chart looks, I much prefer that point of control from the onset down here at $35.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, this is a relatively new name. It just started trading last September, so we don't have a ton of price discovery to go over. But I guess what I would say when I look at a company and a chart like this, we've talked about it. I think for the reasons you brought this segment in, Bob, this is definitely not going away. It's just beginning. And really, it's doubled. Let's say, the low when it opened was, 25 and it went to 60. So a little bit more than a double, which is great. But it's not 10xing. It's not 20xing. And I like that even more, quite honestly, if you're in it for the long haul, because I think you will have some time to get in here. And I agree with you. This is a hefty meat profile. So there's a couple things, the way, if you haven't been on board since day one or back here, we talked about it. This was a great trading area because it spent kind of the same story, right? It spent 3 months, nobody noticing in it. And it finally woke up for whatever reason, people are like, oh, mushrooms, this is the only play out there. I better get involved. And it sold off and it found another base, which was basically back at the previous high, which is good. Again, now it's testing it. So again, if you're not involved, you've missed a little bit of the of the potential upside today, but that's good, like you said, because that if you were starting fresh, I would look at that 45 and the 35 levels as areas of interest for sure. 45, 40, and 35. And a way you can do that, Bob, is you can buy in the money calls, right? So you can buy 35 calls for I didn't look at them today. If you have an options screen that you could pull up there. I don't have one open right now, but you probably can buy them for, let's just assume maybe $16, right? So there's, maybe, and that's probably, 3 months out. So you could buy 3, 6 months out and not be paying too much premium and not necessarily have to pay 50 a share. You might be able to pay 17, which is basically getting you long at 35.
Right.
And so you don't miss any potential upside that might come, but you also don't have to sink a lot of your capital and outright buy the stock because of kind of, the relation that we just talked about. It might be a little expensive here, right? But if you want to have some exposure, a good way to do it is buy some in the money calls, which doesn't take as much. And I would put, again, I would longer date those calls 6 months plus out. And, you have time for those to pay off. If it does finally, do another boom where it kind of goes from this 50 to 100 level, which it probably will do over time.
And here's all of these analyses that I have. And for me, we'll talk crypto just a little bit here, but if my overarching opinion is that the stock market is going to rotate lower, and that's an evolving story, I find it hard to be in anything. Like, I want to park my battleship in dock, and just wait out the flush that I see that I think is coming.
Right. That's fair.
And let's jump to that Bitcoin chart. Hold on though, because we got to bring in our segments here. We're sort of getting there, Matt. We're sort of getting there on the professional look. That's right. The segment's Crypto After Dark because sometimes you need some honesty in your analysis. And the first thing that I noticed in the crypto sphere, you want to talk about the Reddit bros, the hodlers in the crypto sphere put a whole new spin on, as far as I'm concerned, not well thought out market strategy. Just hodler till it goes to the Lambo or zero. Neither of which I want to be a proponent of. But for me, Bitcoin acting somewhat similar, actually, as the stock market, right? And it's actually had a little ping here, just as we've talked.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me bring it up. Bong. Speaking of bongs, I think that's going to be our first sponsor is Graphics Bongs. And then as we move into here, maybe a Straight Fire here in Bend will be a sponsor. Anyway, this is the talking about the rounding. All right, now this is the daily in Bitcoin, and as you can see, the bands are for sure rounding. They're pretty much flat now. Flatlined, and for me to really start tooting the hodler story, you need to get it back up into up momentum. 54,142, 54,142 is that up momentum level for Bitcoin. But I don't, again, I want to be patient and wait and see, because this chart to me looks like it's rounding and rolling over, much like it did back here in this January area. All right. So I'm paying attention to that. I would just rather wait and buy it on strength than think that this story has fully evolved itself. The other thing too, that's incredibly important is again, as we talked about, this chart has moonshotted so much that retracements are incredibly huge. Like if this thing does turn around and you go back to the weekly average, or God forbid you go test the lower momentum level, like we call that a coast to coast, right? Go test the other level, the opposite level. So from up momentum to down momentum, 23,000, we got a Michael Jordan going, 2332 to the other momentum level. I mean, the potential in the chart is astronomical. Yeah. So again, these are the things, and it's very similar actually in mindset to the GameStop chart. Like when it's at $500, like where do you think this thing is going? And the risk reward, again, I keep saying it, I think there's more risk to the downside than there's reward potential to the upside right now. That's what I'm seeing in it, and that's why I'm being patient. I don't mind buying on strength, if that daily strength can show back up and we can get a close back and up momentum on the daily. But for me, I'm still pause. I'm a pause on the crypto sphere.
You know, I again looking at let me bring up a chart, Bob, if you don't mind, and I'll give a quick look. I like to look at a month on this thing because, again, to your point, you know, we've had some big moves. I mean, this is just going back. I can't even see the low. Well, I kind of can, but you know, basically we were at 30. What were we? 33,000, 34,000 as February kicked off, and we hit a high of 58. So again, almost a double again in February, which is insane. But you can see here, to me, this is, again, we had a huge break from 58 to 44s, which is 14,000. And again, to your point, we're basically back to the 50, 61, 8 area, which again coincides with the top of this meet here. Not quite to your number, 54. That's a little higher. And you can see that red bar. That's kind of that high that we saw before the big fall. You know, that we could test that again for sure. Possibly, probably, you know, that's in the
guaranteed card. Probably,
but that's only $3,000 away, which I
right.
know only $3,000 away, but after you swing $15,000, 3,000 is not much of that meat. So I don't know. Again, to me, I'd rather sell up in here and stop on a new high. If we did get up into that area, I'd be a seller. And even in here, again, if you're a bigger player, this is a nice bounce, 44 to 52 already. You'd probably be legging into a short really from 52 to 55 and kind of see where that plays out.
You know, the other thing I'm just noticing from your chart is the anemic volume again.
Well, volume and you see this, this is just a simple RSI indicator right here, just a regular out of the box 14-day. And again, I've talked about this before, but we've seen the spikes, and even, you know, the spikes here in momentum are not, you know, good for further momentum to the upside, as you like to say. So momentum is waning to the upside. And again, it's the same thing you saw in GameStop. So we're giving the bros an exercise in how markets work. And unless you have further momentum and volume, you're not going to, and, you know, the volume dissipating along with, you know, the momentum is a dangerous recipe for more downside, to your point. And, you know, I think, again, the Ides of March, and we're kind of in concert here. I think we're coming into an, you know, area where we've had a 4-month rally from the election day now that is almost complete for 4 months, right? November, December, January, February. And that's a long time, again, for a rally without a significant pullback. And I think, I think it would be healthy for all these assets to take a break right now. And I don't know what's going to be the impetus or the date that's going to happen, but I think you have to be kind of, you know, hedging any unicorns that are still left in your portfolio. You better be buying some downside protection. If you're not, you could wake up with a 5% down day, and then maybe it goes down another 5 in the next, 3 or 4 after that. This is how downturns happen quickly. And when they come 10, 20%, that's when you want to have your capital dry to reload, right? So you don't want to take a 20% haircut because you're using all your assets today. So book in some profits while these things are still kind of floating near the top. I mean, the SPOOs at 3,900 are only, less than 2% off its all-time high, right? So it's not a huge sell-off that we've seen, but they will come. And, just position yourself to either protect to the downside or, just don't get caught, with your pants down.
Especially on an Australian beach, because you never know if Mr. Winky can get off the seafloor and give you a shocker. All right, Matt. Happy Thursday, and we will be back tomorrow, Friday, and hopefully we have a guest tomorrow. I'm not sure if crypto. Hold on. Let's see if he's off a timeout in the Twitter sphere. It's unreal. Like, it's a hard lockdown. Yeah, like he's still suspended. He's still he must have done something.
Maybe tomorrow you should bring in the show with "It's a Hard Knock Life" or something. So, since you brought up his suspension, I'm going to bring up how this is treating, our favorite suspended company, which is Twitter. By the way,
let's look at the stock because I got to tell you, even though we're broadcasting here now, we need Twitter, sort of, right?
By the way, we're hitting another all-time high this morning.
Look at that, of course, of course.
And we talked about this early in the room today at Market Vitals, that we were just like, this, it's unbelievable. But yeah, we got an all-time high again. Twitter, the old one was 73 and change, and we, another 10% higher. So we traded 81. We're off a little bit here at 78. Wow. Fantastic bullish chart. If you want to look at the daily, just so I haven't looked at it in a long time, it's parabolic, I assure you. And wow, I mean, it's just parabolic, Bob. Again, this thing was trading 19 back in March, as was everything at its low. So it's been a 4Xer, way out of valuation on any metric. This is a daily. Look at a weekly. Again, I don't think this may be an all-time high. It is.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. As far as I can tell. Yep. I mean, I'm seeing a high of 14.
Past high was right around
13.
It basically came public in 14, right around 75 bucks.
Yeah, 74.13, 74.73 was the old high. 77.99, 92 jumping around right now. The revenue must be off the charts at Twitter, I guess.
Maybe censorship is working for the short term. And,
is that the new 2020? Censorship pays. Is that the new tagline?
Apparently. Well, if you want to get all the, I guess one-sided viewpoints, I guess you're going to get all of them. I guess that works. I mean, it might work. I mean, maybe that's your model now, as you go after you have no two-sided conversations and everybody agrees with everybody, which we don't do in Market Vitals, by the way. We disagree all the time, and that's part of the joy, and that's part of looking at markets. You may like it short, and I might like it long, and that's the way it's.
Yeah, different time frames.
Yeah,
that is trading for sure. That is for sure the nuance of it.
So you might like buying Twitter at an all-time high here. I do not.
It's unbelievable.
So
it's unbelievable.
We'll be watching that story. I don't have a position in it, but I don't know. It could get interesting.
You know what, though? That's an interesting chart, too, because those are the type of things that, you like to keep on your radar, because when it does hiccup, that's just a great short potential, because you can have defined risk at the all-time high. And, maybe you catch one of these reversions on that type of play for sure.
Yeah. I agree. It's in play. It's definitely got the volatility. So that's a good thing. It's got super high RSI on the weekly. Not quite. It's pretty much back to like its all-time high where it sees every time. And that usually leads to, it usually is a precursor for a good, in the past 2, 3, 4 times that it's hit like this usually pays off for, 10 to 20% pullback. I mean, and again, it would make sense. I mean, the top of value on a weekly, Bob, is down at $38. So it's double from where we are now. Again,
the Twitter sphere is healthy, apparently. Please share this video if you're watching it on Twitter. Retweet it. See that we need a retweet, not a like. We went over this yesterday on the Suds review, Matt.
Maybe what they're doing, maybe the CFO at Twitter thinks that having Trump off, has been good, and apparently, what was the date he was thrown off? Wasn't it the 12th? I haven't looked at this. Can you look that up real quick while I'm bringing in a shorter term chart? Because I think this is an interesting, thing to think about, and maybe the reversal is when they allow Trump back on Twitter, right? Because that's coming. His permanent suspension seemed to come on January 8th. Okay. So interesting. That happened right in here. And it was already selling off from the kind of point of control there at 56, and then it went from 54. And I remember this. It went from 54 down $10 on that news. It took 3 or 4 days. From there, it's been nothing but up. So I guess again, censorship is working as far as the price discovery goes today. I'm going to have to throw that in. So now I'm going to have to think about that, like into the modeling when they start, when they take off, I don't know, who's somebody big, also.
Who's next?
Yeah, who's next? But that might be the CFO's strategy for the stock, is keep censoring people, because you're not going to, maybe you need to censor Kanye, or maybe you need to censor Kim Kardashian, whoever the big followed people are anymore. I don't know who those people are, but
well, I don't know what happened to Crypto Fitch or what he did, but apparently we're not going to have him on tomorrow. Like, if anybody else out there in the Twitter sphere knows Crypto Fitch, please have him join marketvitals.io so we can get him on the show tomorrow, because I really want to talk about NFTs. I mean, it actually is one of those things, one of those use cases in blockchain that actually makes sense to me. And I'd love to talk to him about the evolving ecosystem going on in NFTs. It's basically intellectual property protection on the blockchain. Anyway,
I like it.
That's all I got, Matt.
Bob, are you going to hit?
Well, I mean, I got a lot more. That's all we have for the show, right?
We have time for today. I understand. You going to get up and do some runs on the corduroy today? What are you doing?
No, dude. They got the wind is blowing 60-mile-an-hour plus. It's
there's a
snowing.
storm coming in too. Yeah, storm.
Full on storm day up at Mount B. I think it's more prudent that we have a few suds and review one and watch that Michigan Iowa game.
All right, I like it. Sounds good.
Right,
Go
Bill.
blue. Garza, I hope we can, I hope our 7'1" freshman can contain you, because that's going to be a heck of a matchup. I think I want to watch those two big boys battle today, because both are outstanding. Both and Dickinson for Michigan, by the way, is won freshman of the week 7 times already, which is a new Michigan record. He broke Trey Burke's record from 2014 when he was having a heck of a freshman year, and they made it to the finals that year again. Michigan did, and couldn't finish it off again. But we're in that final. We've been in that Final Four 3 times in the last 7 years, Bob. So let's see if we can go for 4. We would have been there last year too.
You guys are like the Buffalo Bills of the last decade.
Yeah, but I witnessed one in my life in '89 with Remedial Robinson, if you remember him, making those free throws against Seton Hall. I call him Remedial now because of kind of what's happened, but he was not a good free throw shooter. I don't know if you remember. He was like a 39% free throw shooter. Michigan was down 1 at the line, like 2 seconds left. He's got 1 and 1, and you're like, oh God, could we have a worse guy at the line? And he nails both of them, Bob. And we go on to win the national championship 1989. Glenn Rice, of course, that was a great team. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. I do remember that now that you mention it.
And that was, by the way, senior year for me. Good times.
All right, Matt. I will see
All right, Bobby. Talk to you.
Hey, please share. Sit
Don't
down.
like us. Don't like us. Hashtag this shit and share.
Exactly.
We're getting it done. Bye-bye.